Hello, my name is Thomas Gunning, and today I'll be discussing the erroneous perception that our brains turn off when we sleep. So to start things off, first I want to talk about an example of a Forbes.com article entitled "Too Stressed to Sleep: How to Turn Your Brain Off Before Bed." Now this article describes symptoms of being too stressed out to sleep and ways to fall asleep easier. However, the article consistently uses poor language such as describing how to turn off your brain and empty your brain before sleep. This brings us to our next point, the sleeping brain. Now, the first thing that we need to do is dispel this common misconception about sleep. Even Hobson notes in a 2005 article that this was a common misconception, that sleep had decreased brain activity, but this was rejected upon the discovery of REM and non-REM sleep stages during the 1950s. Both Carlson and Burkett's textbook and the Hobson Review also support the idea of 4 stages of non-REM sleep and a stage of REM sleep, each with their own different measurable brain activities and behaviors, you can see here. And then as for decreased brain activity, that's not indicative of sleep, but rather it indicates brain death. So Widgix et al. In their 2010 paper look at different methods of diagnosing brain death, and one of which is observing isoelectric or no changes in EEG, so lack of brain activity. It's also important to remember that sleeping is a behavior and therefore requires brain activity. Both the textbook and Ogilvy's 2001 article characterize behavior of associated with falling asleep. And then also in Neer and Tononi's 2009 paper, they find that they examined dreaming activity using PET scans to detect brain activity in several individuals throughout different stages of sleep. Interestingly, finding that the dreaming brain was very similar to the awake brain, and you can see the figures right here. The following point that's going to help us dispel this rumor is noting that the brain can't simply fall asleep, because even all the cells and neurons in our brain are still alive and undergoing changes as well. So both Sorelli's 2009 and the Sorelli et al. 2004 paper support the idea that falling asleep requires changes in gene expression at the molecular level. So in Sorelli's 2009 paper, they show that sleep changes mRNA levels for certain transcripts associated with sleep. And then in the 2004 paper, they discovered over 100 genes identified in rat models have increased gene expression during sleep. And it's also cool to note that in the Sorelli et al. 2004 paper and in the Zhang 2014 paper, that gene expression changes as a result of our circadian rhythms as well. So Zhang noted that half of the genes in mouse models show oscillations in gene expression with circadian rhythms, so between night and day. Sorelli noted that 10% of the mRNAs in the cerebral cortex of rat models change their expression during the circadian rhythms, but it's not just in the cerebral cortex or just in the brain in general. Zhang's paper noted that the changes in gene expression were throughout multiple organs and multiple different cell types, and these change throughout with our circadian rhythms. So the last point that we'll be making is while the Forbes article had a lot of erroneous language, it had some good points as well, linking evidence between sleep and stress levels to behavioral health, which is supported in Benham's 2009 paper. And then Tomey and et al.'s 2011 and Adam and Kistler's 2013 paper also support the idea that the Forbes article is talking about phone usage, linking to higher disturbances in sleep. And Adams and Kistler's paper also predicts symptoms of depression and anxiety linking back to increased phone usage as well. So it has major implications on our biopsychological health. So in conclusion, just to wrap up what we've talked about so far, our brains do not turn off when we fall asleep. Rather, the sleeping brain changes seen in the differences in brain activity, behavioral changes as we fall asleep, and changes in gene expression. It's important to remember that sleep is critical to our health, and factors such as stress, technology usage, and a couple other things can influence our ability to obtain good sleep. So thank you so much for listening. Here are my references right here, and I hope you get some good sleep tonight. Thanks.